Okay, so here's my shop. It's very small. It's a little disorganized, but that's okay. I'm getting there. It's about the size of a dorm room, bedroom maybe. And one of the things that I want to show is how I've decided to create a workstation and install something that allows you to secure your tools as you work with them within the workstation. So my shop's not big enough for individual stations or obviously tools that are larger, like a large table saw or individual type tools. So I have to buy smaller tools, for instance like this used table saw I found at a yard sale. However, tools like this generally are lightweight and not very sturdy, so I found a way that I can bolt it down to my station here, my little island, and be secure. And one thing I've done is install what's called a T-nut. So a T-nut looks like that from the top. It's a threaded insert with teeth. I drilled a hole and then I used a spade bit to get this down and flush. Once you get it down, you can pound it in and then use a little bit of epoxy around the edges to sort of seal that in. And I've got two there which fit my miter saw exactly. Then what you can do for other tools is try to use the same two or drill another one accordingly for that particular tool. So you're sharing this one, and in this case on my table saw what I've done is I've installed an L bracket with a machine screw, and that fits exactly over the one T-nut. You can get them at Lowe's, probably Home Depot under hardware. Then you grab your hardware here, and this one's for my miter saw, so it's longer. It needs to be longer. This little guy will fit. I had to cut it down. Nudge it so it fits. There we go. Alright, I'll bolt that down. As you know, this is pretty skimpy. There's not much to it, and you want it to be secure too. Now, this is where I'm not sure it'll fit. I tried to measure and do all I could to see if everything lines up. I measured based on the one. I bolted the one side down, and I measured, and this one's going to work too, which is what I'm excited about. I have to cut this bolt down. So once you get those down, you could get a little wrench and tighten it, but now you know that you've got a much more secure tool. If it was tighter, it would. If those bolts were tighter, it wouldn't move, but I got a little bit of movement there. I just hand tighten those down, and that works for that particular saw, and I will show you in the next clip how my miter saw fits. Okay, so here's my miter saw, and it's pretty lightweight, which is probably the best I can do for this shop. Probably buy a heavier one if I wanted to spend the money, but I've got my one side anchored down, and again, tighten those down a little bit. The other side's lined up. You can see here, tighten that one down. Now, one little mistake I'm showing you is that I've tightened down the back of the saw when really the front of the saw is where the potential issue is. So it could lift the front of the saw as you're pushing the blade through the work. The front of the saw could lift. So technically speaking, I should anchor down the front, and you can do that too. Whatever you feel you need to do. So this still lifts up. What I could probably do is just flip the saw around and you use the T-nuts that I've installed for the front ones and just cut the other way. So that's it. Pretty simple to do. With the T-nut installation, it's pretty simple. Drill your hole. I use a spade bit to get this down a little further around the edges so that you get it flush, and you can chisel out a little bit more so that the plate of the T-nut fits down and flush. And then you just pound it in. And I use a little bit of epoxy or glue or whatever to kind of get in those little edges, little crooks there, little edges, and secure that a little more. And then cut your hardware down, cut your bolts down, depending on what you need. And I've got 2 here. This is what they came. This is what it came as, and this is what I cut it down to, so that you're just not spending all your time loosening and tightening. And that's it. So hopefully that's a good tip for you to create a mobile workstation with multiple tools that need to be secured. You can use L brackets. You can probably bolt down blocks of wood that can stabilize your work pieces, so you don't have to install 6 and 7 T-nuts amongst in your shop, in your workstation. You probably don't need 6 or 7 or 10 different T-nuts. You could probably find a way to just have a small handful of T-nuts installed. That way then you can secure all your tools and have a better quality work, and safer too. So hope that helps. Take care. Bye.